Hello and welcome back. Guitar shielding. We're going to take this guitar today and just show you how guitar shielding is going to help. EMI frequencies are going to create a buzz through the amplifier that you will naturally hear, but we can eliminate it, and I will show you what it is that we're trying to eliminate. First off, by just putting on the amp, cranking up the volume, and then touching different metal parts to see what will eliminate the EMI buzz. So here we go. So that is EMI buzz, and that can be eliminated by shielding the inner cavities of this guitar. We're going to remove the pick guard and shield the cavities in the front of this and in the back, just to see if we can make this guitar stop buzzing like that. I've done it before on my 87 Squire Stratocaster. It worked. So we're going to do that to this today, and that's where we're going to go. So off to the bench. So what's going to make this even a little more interesting is I'm planning on reusing these strings. So I don't want to remove them all from the spindles because that's just a nightmare putting them back together. So what we're going to do is capo at the first fret, and that is going to just keep the wires from bundling up around the spindles. So we're going to loosen the strings, always loosening these skinny strings first. And this is because we are going to try and reuse them. What we want to do is make sure that we take the pressure off the skinny strings first, because if you take the pressure off the larger strings, the pressure on the first ones are going to increase exponentially. It's going to increase a lot. And then, because they're still going to be in the way for removing the pick guard and all that, we are going to instead remove the neck. So to remove the neck, we're going to get an extra layer of softy. Flip this over because we don't want to lay these buttons down on the hard surface. When you're loosening the screws, always take note of whether they're coming out smoothly or if there's something that's hampering them, just so that you know before you put them back in later. Okay, now we gently remove the neck. Whenever you're removing the neck on your guitar, always do it slowly and check for shims down in this here pocket. A lot of times, especially with these cheaper guitars, there might be a little piece of wood in there that they've had to put in to keep the strings in the proper spot. So with that, we now have room to remove the pick guard. Be careful to only do the pick guard screws. Do not do these screws on either side of the pickups or this here switch, because this just mounts the switch. These are your height adjustments for your pickups. If you start moving them, you're going to put it all out of whack. Okay, don't forget to remove all the screws. And with that, you slowly remove the pick guard, and that is because there are wires attached that go other places. first thing we want to do is get a damp rag and clean up the surface of the guitar. And you can also use your damp rag to clean up the coffee spilled. So this is just some aluminum tape that I got at Rona. I did do a test to make sure that the adhesive had connectivity to it. Then we place it over the hole, rub our finger around the edge, and that puts a slight crease in the tape. So that we know where to cut. And something else I've always found to be helpful is a pencil with a good eraser on it. That will make sure that your tape sticks to the surface. Use the eraser to make sure you have good contact to the back. And since we now have two pieces attached to each other, we're going to get out the continuity detector, and see that we have continuity. Basically, that is just by these two probes, putting them together, we should get a beep. So we put on the one piece and then the other. Okay, we do know that we have connectivity or continuity. We will be going through at the end and doing all of them, but it's a start. This one also requires us going around a conductor. Now what we do want to, when we're doing the top part, is make sure that we get just a little bit around on top of the edges here, because after we do the pickguard, use our eraser to make contact on the sides here, and then across here. And once we get to the conductor, make a little slice in the tape. That will go around that conductor. So that is the spot I'm looking at. So let's get a piece that will cover the base of that, which is going to have to be about that long. Do our finger around the edge trick. Spend a little extra time on the parts that overlap with other tape, just so that you know you get good solid connection. Now this piece just needs to come up to there, or a bit more. When you're doing long legs like this, put your finger at that end to keep it from rolling into a ball, like that. And then I'm going to make sure that I get just a little bit on the top surface. And then I can roll down into the cavity. That one worked very well. Okay. Drink. Every so often, take a break, have a sip of cold coffee. Because you don't realize how long you've been doing this for. And hope we made it big enough. Yes we did. Okay, so last piece of the upper inner cavity. And now we go around and make sure everything is planted well. We're finding a little spot there which might be a patchable spot. We're going to do that now while we're here. And then we're going to take the continuity tester and test and see that we have continuity throughout the tape. Am I getting better at peeling this tape? No. Maybe. Don't bite your fingernails, kids. And there is the inner cavity. Aluminum taped with spots where the conductors go through. I have one more little piece that I can cover over the rest of that hole with. Might hear a little traffic and birds. I had to open the window so I didn't go stinking goofy. Okay. Oh, drink. That's the okay drink. If I go, okay, drink. Alrighty, continuity test. Continuity tester. Oops. Caps off. And let's go right end to end and see if we've got it. Yes. That's what I wanted to see or hear. All right, let's put this away for a few minutes. And now we'll take one more look at this. So now the next thing we're going to do is the back of the plate. And all we have to really do, because of this here area, is just there and around there, because this is the only area we really have to cover. You'll notice that the pots and switches are already on a little bit of aluminum tape, so we don't even have to really do around them. All we have to do is around these, and that is going to go by just like that. So there we go. That's what we wanted to hear. Okay, so we've got it. It's good enough for what we're going to be doing with this one. So now we can replant the pick guard, which is what I was really wanting to do. Ensure that none of the wires, strings are underneath. All the wires stay in the cavity. And none of them get pinched by the pick guard. Woohoo! Always start your pick guard screws by hand so you know that you're not going to cross thread or strip them at all. Having a couple of them go through the tape is not a bad thing, because that will help make contact. This particular one we had to do the toothpick trick with because one of the holes, I think this one here, was stripped. So what you do is remove the screw, take a little sliver of toothpick, put it down in the hole, and then replant the screw. And remembering to check all your pick guard screws. If two of them are longer, they go either side of the bridge. There will be like threads, and then there will also be a little collar at the top. So now, sink, do not tighten. And this will just allow for a little bit of movement in the pick guard in case you get it all tightened down, then you've got a bubble somewhere, like a warp. Obviously that's not cool. Now let's do this by hand so that you can tell that there's no obstructions in there. Okay, now drink. Make sure this is all level. Okay, now we go around and tighten in a alternating pattern. Don't over tighten these, but just make sure that they're snug and aren't going to work their way loose. Okay, so now I think the next thing we're going to do is reinstall the neck. Now we're not done shielding, but we're to the point where we should have the neck attached and secure. So the first thing you want to do is make sure all your strings are going in between the tightening lugs. All your strings are the same length. And then remembering we have the cushy face there so that we can lay it on the knobs. We keep the neck plate and screws in the same holes. And of course start by hand. Always make sure the screws are in the same holes. Always make sure that you tighten by hand. Get them started. Make sure that the threads you're going into were the threads they came out of. Sink but do not tighten. And you sink but do not tighten them so that you can at this point inspect. Make sure that the neck, there's no gap there or down here. The neck is seated properly. Let's tighten it down more and make sure that it does actually seat properly. Try and remember how much pressure you put on each screw. And re-inspect again. Now that seems planted more firmly. We're just going to, of course, double check always again and again and again. And planted properly. Okay. Oh, drink. Now these cavities are all shielded, but that's not all, because now we got to check the power outlet and the whammy outlet in the back. So first things first, let's do this front part. So now we're going to do the power output cavity, of course, where you plug in your guitar. Once again, going to feel on how that syncs or doesn't. And cautiously doing this because of course there's wires connected. And the damp cloth. Okay, and the other thing is that there is dust and dirt down in the cavity that will not allow the tape to stick. Okay, so our scissors make a base sized piece of tape. I'm going to wrap this around my fingers and go deep. I'm going to come up the ends first. You want to always make sure you leave enough to come over just up over the lip because you want to make contact with the back of that plate. I'm going to just kind of make a little arrowy type thing to make sure that we get this here planted but not sticking out. Make sure we have just a little bit overhang, and then sink, don't tighten, and inspect. Probably a little vinegar and water will remove that extra glue. And we're set. So now we're gonna secure. That one feels like it's going to want to keep turning, so leave it. And that is the output power jack done. So now there's only one last spot, and this is why we didn't bring it up to tune when we tightened the strings, because we're going to have to loosen off the strings and attack the back again. And this is where this is. So remove these 6 screws. The holes that these here screws go into are beveled, so there is a front and a back to this plate. You want to make sure that you don't flip it over the other way. Actually, these 2 screws are that way so that you can't flip it this way. You can twist it that way, but then the string installation holes are not where you want them. So let's take a look. Oh my, there's a bunch of wood jammed in there. You know why? Because I did that. That is your whammy bar override. So we're gonna pull all that out. Keep it with our hardware. Flip this so I don't have any crap to scratch the front. Now you don't know how far those screws are going in there, so you want to be careful as you're taking this off so that you don't get to the point where it rips them out and screws the threads. They should be fairly long, but we're not going to take a chance. And we're going to get the needle nose pliers and remove the strings from this point. And there's still a fair bit of pressure on those. You'll notice that the springs are circular at one end and not at the other. Circular end hooks, other end pushes straight in. Now, we'll try to get these outer two off first. And then we'll loosen this off a bit more because we just have the one string or spring on there. There's a lot less pressure on it. Okay, let's remove these all together because this way we can find out just how long those screws are. Damp cloth. Pick up all the little pieces of sawdust that was in this one to begin with. And we're going to go down into that, up and over the top. And right down the middle. So let's put our removal tool there so we have access. And here we go. So I'm going to go just over the top ledge is where we want to start. Go down the wall, across the bottom, covering over about half of the port where the ground screw goes deep. Now for the tricky part. Let's take this, put it on this side, get our tremolo restraining device. And Repeat on the other side. About yay width. Across the bottom. And just a little on top. And hopefully this is the last piece of tape, and then we will be doing our continuity test, hooking the son of a gun back up, and checking the final test to see if it really did work. Here we go. Let's make sure none of this is going to catch. Now those are at a much better angle, and let's sink these about halfway. And I can tell halfway by doing one side first and measuring against the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 threads on each of them are sticking out. So that is where we're gonna go. No. Possibly. Yes. Okay, so 1, 2, and there. Replace the plate. Sink, don't tighten. Inspect, no more screws. Whoa, wait a minute. We almost did a bad thing. Forgot to jam the tremolo. Double check your work. Because we have all that extra tape in there now, we don't have to jam as much of the wood in. So the thickest part goes into this side. The middle part goes in the middle side, or slightly to the thicker side of the middle side. And tremolo override complete. Springs have tension. Where'd the cover plate go? There we go. Okay, so, oh, drink. But they're good for now. Double check the neck, make sure they are all, an extra half a turn on that one. About a quarter turn on that one. Quarter turn on that one. Quarter to a half on that one. Okay, the other thing is, drink. Always double check your strap peg screws. You really don't want them to come off. She's ready for testing. Well, no, not really, because I got to bring her up to tune first. Rough tune, wiggle, rough tune, wiggle. Do that about 5 times or so. Anytime you have to bring it back up to tune before you bother going to a correct tune. So we'll be back in a second when I get to that point. So we're back into close enough tuning to see if the shielding worked or not. You're going to find out at the same time I do. So here we go. So there we go. I hope you didn't hear what I didn't hear, which was the buzzing out of this $100 Barracuda Stratocaster that we just shielded. So there was quite a big difference from what was at the beginning of the video. As a matter of fact, let me play back a little bit of that right now and we'll compare the two against each other. So that is the difference. I guess you didn't hear what I didn't hear. So $100, actually it was less than that, because for $100 I got this guitar, a 15-watt amp, like a practice amp, $3 the cord, a stand, and two right-handed pick guards, one still housing a volume and a tone pot, the switch, and it still had the cover on it actually as well. So, is it worth it to shield your guitar? Yes, especially if you had EMI interference like we had on this one. So, for about $4 worth of tape and about 3 hours labor, which can come down a lot because I was videoing at the same time, so it's going to take a lot longer to do. Plus, this is only the second Stratocaster or any guitar that I've ever shielded. So, with that, thanks for watching. Please share, like, subscribe. Leave a comment below whether I did something right, did something wrong, and I know I do things wrong. But I'd be interested in hearing from you. Check out my channel. There might be other videos there that you're interested in. I just do basic guitar maintenance. I'm not a luthier. I'm just a hack, an old guy with too much time on my hands. So, thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye now.